Data analysis using R/Python and SSDs. Does anyone have any experience using R/Python with data stored in solid-state drives? If you are doing mostly reads, in theory this should significantly improve the load times of large datasets. I want to find out if this is true and if it is worth investing in SSDs for improving the I/O rates in data-intensive applications.
This URL has a good article on SSDs. Comments offer a lot of insights. Depends on the type of analysis you're doing, whether it's CPU bound or I/O bound. Personal experience dealing with regression modeling tells me former is more often the case. SSDs wouldn't be of much use then. In short, best to profile your application first.
The read and write times for SSDs are significantly higher than standard 7,200 RPM disks. It's still worth it with a 10K RPM disk. Not sure how much of an improvement it is over a 15K. So yes, you get much faster times on data access. The performance improvement is undeniable. Then, it's a question of economics. 2 TB 7,200 RPM disks are $170 a piece, and 100 GB SSDs cost $210. So if you have a lot of data, you may run into a problem. If you read/write a lot of data, get an SSD. If the application is CPU intensive, however, you'd benefit much more from getting a better processor. I have to second John's suggestion to profile your application. My experience is that it isn't the actual data reads that are the slow part. It's the overhead of creating the programming objects to contain the data, casting from strings, memory allocation, etc. I would strongly suggest you profile your code first and consider using alternative libraries, like NumPy, to see what improvements you can get before you invest in hardware.
My 2 cents, SSD only pays off if your applications are stored on it, not your data. And even then only if a lot of access to disk is necessary, like for an OS. People are right to point you to profiling. I can tell you without doing it that almost all of the reading time goes to processing, not to reading on the disk. It pays off far more to think about the format of your data instead of where it's stored. A speed up in reading your data can be obtained by using the right applications and the right format. Like using R's internal format instead of fumbling around with text files. Make that an exclamation mark. Never keep on fumbling around with text files. Go binary if speed is what you need. Due to the overhead, it generally doesn't make a difference if you have an SSD or a normal disk to read your data from. I have both, and use the normal disk for all my data. I do juggle around big datasets sometimes, and never experienced a problem with it. Of course, if I have to go really heavy, I just work on our servers. So it might make a difference when we're talking gigs and gigs of data, but even then I doubt very much that disk access is the limiting factor. Unless you're continuously reading and writing to the disk, but then I'd say you should start thinking again about what exactly you're doing. Instead of spending that money on SSD drives, extra memory could be the better option. Or just convince the boss to get you a decent calculation server. A timing experiment using a bogus data frame, and reading and writing in text format versus binary format on a SSD disk versus a normal disk.